TLP servers don't die because people stop playing. They die because people stop believing they're worth their time. Don't get me wrong, there are still players out there grinding, raiding, and reliving the nostalgia. But here's the problem. Too many players are holding back. They're watching from the sidelines, wondering if the server is already on its way out. And we see this all the time in the forums, the threads. People feel like they've missed the boat and they're going to wait for the next server because nobody wants to play on a dead server. So in this video, we're going to specifically address what happens when a TLP server loses its momentum. At what points do you expect the server to fade away or get a boost? And when does the server actually really die? So if you ever wondered if your TLP is running out of time, you're going to want to watch this. First up, we have the Teek server, which is the newest random trade loot server. And so far we have population tracked from Kunark, Vilius, and Luckland. And so you can see Kunark, this is all that launch problems and the server's down, but this server actually peaked the highest I've ever recorded, over 6,000 players, specifically due to the boost they gave to servers because most servers cap out about 5,000. You can see when they took that additional server space out, however they did it, that it did indeed cap around 5,000 for the remainder of its height. And then toward the end of every expansion on the TLP, because people are min-maxing, it drops off. It always drops off. You can for sure see that in the last month and a half and last month specifically that it does one of these. And then as Vilius comes out, which is a similar popular expansion, it kind of boosts itself back up. And here we are around maybe 3,750 players from its consistent peak of 5,000, but more players than recorded before the expansion release. And then there's not as many data points for this expansion because I think I did it weekly, but then you can see some dips, and then eventually the trend is here that it drops down to almost 2,000. And then Luckland came out and we had this huge massive increase again to almost near 5,000. And over time it does one of these and slides. Now a couple things happened at the end of this timeline. The World of Warcraft Classic server came out, and a lot of people that play EverQuest also play World of Warcraft, especially the Classic. So this could be contributing to this extra downfall, but Plains of Power is right around the corner. So I don't have all the data for Mischief, but this is the Mischief server, which closely resembles the Teek server in the fact that it is random / tradable loot, pretty much the same rule set. I've only been tracking data for maybe 2 years, so I did get the Seeds of Destruction on Mischief. And as you can see on Mischief type server, here's the Underfoot release, and then a dip, and then House of Thule, which was popular, a rise and then a fall, and then Veil of Valeris, rise, big fall, more data points in the Veil of Valeris expansion, Reign of Fear, a boost, and then the Call of the Forsaken, a small boost. So the population continuously dwindles, but let's say that these 500 players are committed, and every time expansion releases, some players come back. This is kind of what you can expect on a random tradable loot server. The Mischief is probably one of the few servers that actually will make it to live, having a decent amount of population. Most of the live servers have between 200 and 300 players at their peak if they're lucky. So Mischief is actually doing better than that. The other example I have for you, this is Oakwind, which is not a free trade tradable loot server. It does have encounter locking and some other features. I only started tracking this in the end of Vilius, but you can see the same boost in Luckland, and then the downfall, Plains of Power, small boost, downfall. And then when Gates of Discord came out, not really any of a boost that was noticeable, but the continued decline. And then Omens of War, a little boost, and then down. And then after Depths of Dark Hollow, it's kind of like you don't really start to notice the actual boost in population. This could be directly due to the fact that there is another random tradable loot server, also World of Warcraft Classics, playing a big part in this. But you can see the difference between a standard Classic server. It does have a few different features than most Classic servers have, but Classic traditional servers really do die down after Plains of Power. This was not the case as you saw in Mischief, but Gates of Discord was just non-eventful, and then people came back for Omens of War, which is another popular expansion. You can expect most traditional rule set servers to die out pretty hard after Plains of Power. It's still maintaining around 500 players, but will it make the long run like Mischief? We'll definitely track and see, but I'm guessing not. And then you can see back to Mischief that it's further in the expansion timeline and still holding a significant amount of players. So even toward the end here, it's still got about as many players as Oakwind, being much further along. So the random tradable loot does have a big impact on whether or not your server is going to make it. So as far as Teek is concerned, I think Teek is going to be just fine. I think that you can expect it to kind of trend with Mischief. Well, it looks like there's a massive exodus in players because you're falling below 2,000 players for the first time. You're going to have to get used to what an actual EverQuest server is at some point. And even at the 500 player level, that is actually still a significant amount more players than most of the live servers, except for Furiona Vi, which is a tradable loot server. I think that one sits around 1,000, and that's on live. So if you're really concerned about when your TLP is going to die, this is the best data that I have that I've been tracking over the last 2 years, at least weekly. I have some data points. If you're afraid that Teek is going to die, it's probably going to trend with Mischief. It won't entirely die, but do understand that almost every EverQuest server that is live does not have a significant population besides Furiona Vi. I think someone had corrected me one time, it's Furiona V. So I may have been saying that wrong this entire time. But this 4,000 to 6,000 players that we're getting at some of these launches, that does not exist anywhere. I don't think it even exists in P99 or Quarm or any of those private servers. Some of those are over 1,000. I know from the last time I saw their data points. One of the reasons that they have to launch these TLPs consistently, at least once a year with classic rule sets, is because they die out so fast, especially around Planes of Power. The reason that they haven't launched a tradable loot for, I think there's 2 years in between since Mischief, I'd have to look that one up, but the reason they don't do that every year is because that type of server actually lasts, and they don't want to draw population away from, say, a server like Mischief, having a good chance at having a decent amount of population, making it to live, and then a lot of people start over, because without a doubt there are some favorable and popular expansions, and a lot of people really enjoyed the first few expansions into EverQuest. So I have made videos before where I tracked all of the server data, including live, and made a video on it, and you can check that out right here. But it basically covers all the servers, how many people are playing, and it's from 2023. I don't know how much has changed since then, but I will be remaking that video for 2025. So go ahead and check it out.